thing.
Okay.
Okay, so
Orla
three
should be
seven. Start with Orla Gimel Zain.
Gimel Zion.
Yeah.
Why don't I have it in the wrong place? Oh, because all the other reason. Okay. All right. Here we go. Okay. Gimel Zion. Well, Reb Meir used to say, whatever is customary to count renders holy, but the Chachamim say only six things render holy. But your Akiva says seven, and they are as follows: Peric nuts, pomegranates of Baldin, sealed jars, beet shoots, cabbage heads, and Greek gourds. Your Akiva says also householders' loaves, whatever is liable to Ola is Ola, and to Kalei Hakarim is Kalei Tila Hakayim. How so? If the nuts split, the pomegranates burst open, the jaws open, the gourds were cut, or the loaves were broken up, they avoided 1 in 200. Doubtful order in Eretz Israel is forbidden, but in Syria it's permitted. And in foreign lands he goes down and buys and provided only that he does not see him gather. If vegetables are planted in the vineyard and the vegetables are sold outside it, in Eretz Israel it's forbidden, but in Syria it's permitted. And in foreign lands he goes down and gathers, provided not only that he does not gather by hand. Chadash is forbidden by Torah law everywhere, and Orla is by halacha, and Kalayim is by rabbinic law.
Adrian Alach, Maseches Orla.
Okay.
Okay.
I,
Bikkurim.
I, I
Big-
invite you to Bikkurim. Okay.
Okay. Um, all right. So just the quick reminder, Bikurim is the first fruits that need to be brought to Yerushalayim. And we'll see in the Masechta how they're designated and what's done with them. But ultimately, they will be given as a gift to the Kohanim who are on duty at the time. Okay, so um, yesh meviim bikurim v'korim. So there are two things that happen with bikurim. One is you have to take the fruits and bring them, and the second thing is that there's a declaration that you make when you bring the bikurim, which is also called the vidoy.
Right.
It's, right? It's a confession. It's interesting that the word confession is used, but it's called vidui bikurim, acknowledgement of Hashem's goodness in giving us all these things, um, and uh, and now this Mishnah is going to start off by saying, okay, we actually have kind of a matrix of people who do bring, who don't bring, who do bring, who read and whatever. Okay, so we'll see it explicitly. Yesh mevin bikurim v'korim. There are those who bring bikurim and read the vidoy. Mevin v'lo korim. There are those who bring but cannot say the vidoy. Yesh she'einen mevin, and there are those who do not bring at all. Okay, and we're going to start with those. Eilu she'enon mevin. So people who cannot bring bikurim, hanoter lesoch shelo v'ivrich lesoch shel yachid or shel rabim. So he started out, let's say, with a grapevine, and he took a tendril and propagated it as it came out the ground. We're saying that as it came out the ground, he propagated it back into the ground so that it went and came up again into somebody else's property or into public property. So while the original root of the plant, is in his property, the actual growth that came out is coming in somebody else's property. Okay. וכן המבריך מתוך של יחיד או מתוך של רבים לתוך שלו. Or if you do it in the opposite direction, where it was originally planted in somebody else's property or in the public property, and he propagated it so that it came up and pushed up into his property. So it came out the ground in his property and started growing fruit. But there he does not bring bikurim from that fruit. הנוטה לצורך שלו והבריך לצורך שלו. So he has got somebody who planted in his property and he propagated it into his property. So what's wrong with that? V'derech hayachid v'derech harabim be'emtza. But the thing is that there was a road in the middle. So what he did was he actually dug it. He got this very long tendril, right, that was wider than the actual road, and dug a channel in the road, pushed the thing underneath and filled it in. So it was now growing underneath the road into the other side of his property. So again, here he does not bring Bikurim, and the next Mishnah will explain why. Harei ze eino mevi. In all these cases that we just brought, the person does not bring Bikurim at all. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Kazeh Mevi. Rabbi Yehuda disagrees in the third case about the derech I think it was just the derech harabim, or was it the derech yachid? The derech yachid, or both cases. In both cases of the road in the middle, he says he does bring because he starts with his property, ends with his property, it's his property, and everything's fine. Okay, that's just the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. So let's go straight into Mishnah base to understand why. Ma'ezeh tam eno maybe. Why does he not bring bikurim? Mishum shenimar, reishis bikurei ad masacha. It must be the first bikurim of your land, ad masacha, right? Your land. Okay. Achi you call hagidulin me'ad masacha. It has to all have grown from your property. So if it's got somebody else's property that it's drawing nourishment from, then it's not all you.
Yeah.
Okay. Therefore, you're exempt from bikurim on there. Arisin. Okay, now what about sharecroppers, chakoris, renters? So somebody who rents a field from somebody else for a fixed fee um, from the produce. A sikrikon. The sikrikon is basically a bandit. They were the sikari. They were people who carried a certain style of knife, and they named themselves after their style of knife. Not good people, and they used to come and steal crops. So if he steals crops and now he wants to do teshuva and bring the produce that he stole, bring bikurim from the produce that he stole, he's not accepted. But Gazlan, somebody who actually stole the land, right? He pushed somebody off the land and said, okay, well now I want to bring bikurim from this. And maybe in also hatam for the same reason they don't bring bikurim because it's not their land. Mishum shenemar reishis bikurei ad masacha. Okay, simple enough. Mishnah Gimel. Ein meviin bikurim chutz mishiva saminim. So bikurim are only from the seven species with which the land is praised. Eretz chita, sora, gefen, teina, virimon, eretz zes, shemen, udvash. Lo, lo mitmarim shebaharim. And furthermore, also not from the inferior subtypes of these species. So dates are best grown in the valley, and we see like if you've ever driven through the Jordan Valley near Eilat, you see just tons and tons of date orchards. What are they called? Palm orchards. Yeah. So it says the Mishnah, you shouldn't bring from the Tamarim Shibaharim, from the dates that were grown in the mountains, because they're inferior. Lomi Peros Shiba Amakim, and vice versa. Other produce, it grows better in higher places. So don't bring the produce from the valleys. Lomi Zeise Shemen She'ena Mina Muvchar, and also not from oil olives that are not the highest quality. Ein Meviim Bikurim Kodim Latzeres. We also do not bring Bikurim before Shavuos. Um, Okay, and the reason will be explained now. Anshe har tzevoim heviu bikurim kodim latzeres v'lo kiblu mehem. I think we learned this at the end of Maseches Chala, right?
Right.
That people who attempted to bring bikurim before the designated time, and they would not accept it. Why? Mipnei kasuv b'sheba Torah v'chag hakatzir bikurei maasecha asher tizra basadeh. The pasuk explicitly states that Chag HaKatzir, which is Shavuos, Bikurei Maasecha, is linked with the Bikurim Asher Tizra Basadeh. So that's the earliest time to bring Bikurim. I remember, I don't know if you had this when you were a kid, or when your kids were younger. Did the schools have these plays for Shavuos where they brought all sorts of fruit platters and things for Bikurim? So it was like
I don't.
Hag Bikurim. This is the festival of Bikurim, and it's kind of half true because it's
Right.
it's not the festival on which you must bring Bikurim. It's just the starting point.
Right.
Uh,
I don't remember my kids doing that. They might have done it in school, but I didn't see it.
Mm. It was a lot of part of the culture in South Africa. I remember having plays and whatever every Shavuos that we had to send we had to bring a bowl of fruit to school and have a whole fruit party.
I think I remember that the kids doing something like that. Yeah, I just yeah. Well, well.
No, it wasn't particularly from the seven species either. It was
Yeah,
whatever it was.
potato chips and pretzels don't count then, right? Okay,
No,
let's see. We are in the Meister Shani.
no, we're in Orla again,
Oh,
base
I'm
game.
sorry. Wait, so messed up. We're on Orla again in the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay. Olive olive,
No,
right?
base
Oh,
game.
I moved the thing around. I'm sorry. Is it base 10?
Base Gimel.
See, I just moved the thing. When we made the change in the beginning, I moved this. I don't. Okay, here we go. Base Gimel. All avoids Kalayim and Kalayim Orla and Orla Orla. How so? If a saw of Orla fell into 200, and then a little more than a saw of Orla, or a little more than a saw of Kilei Hakarim fell in, this is what Orla voids. Kalayim and Kalayim voids Orla and Orla Orla. Whatever causes to ferment or seasons or renders meduma with truma and with orla or with I can't get that. Kala kairam is forbidden, but Sheit Shammai says it also renders unclean. But Beis Hillel says it never renders unclean unless it contains the bulk of an egg. Doste of Kafar Yitma was one of the disciples of Beit Shammai, and he said, I heard from Shammai, the elder, who said it never renders unclean unless it contains the bulk of an egg.
Okay.
Okay.
Now Master Shani.
Yeah. And I got this straightened out. Okay.
Hmm.
Master Shani. And we should have and this with base. Okay, base should. If some of one's sons were unclean and some clean, he lays down us the cellar and says, "Let the cellar be in exchange for what the clean drink." Then thus the clean and the unclean may drink from one jar. A man may not say to his fellow, "Take his produce up to Yerushalayim for a share," but he may say to him, "Take it up, and we shall eat it and drink it in Yerushalayim." But they may give it to each other as a present. One may not buy truma with Meiser Sheni money because it reduces the number of its consumers. But Shimon permits this. Reb Shimon said to them, why if they ruled leniently regarding peace offerings, which he rendered pickle nota or unclean, shall we not rule leniently in the case of truma? And they said to him, why if they ruled leniently regarding peace offerings, which are permitted to non-priests, shall we rule leniently in the case of truma, which is forbidden to non-priests? Okay, good. Okay. One, two, Kalayim. Here we go. Kalayim, Zion Aleph. If one seeks a vine into the ground, or there is not 3 handbreadths of soil above it, he may not bring seeds on it, even if it was sunk into a gourd or into a pipe. But if he sunk it into a rock, then even if there is only 3 fingerbreadths of soil above it, he's permitted to bring seeds on it, and the knee of a vine is measured from the second root. If one depresses 3 vines and the roots are visible, Reb Elazar ben Tzadok says if there are 4 to 8 cubits between them, they combine, but if not, they do not combine. A withered vine is forbidden, but does not render forbidden. And Reb Meir says cotton is also forbidden, but does not render forbidden. Reb Elazar ben Tzadok says in his name, also above the vine, it is forbidden, yet it does not render forbidden. Zion. The following forbid, but do not render forbidden. The remainder of a vineyard where laid race, and the remainder of a mahol of a vineyard, the remainder of a gap in an arras, and the remainder of trellis frames, but beneath a vine, till its base of the base of vine and the 4 cubits in a vineyard are rendered forbidden.
Okay.
Okay.
Hurrah.
Dalit Aleph. And if the service is performed by a Kohen who locks vestments, he uses
Base. That base.
wait, what did I say? What did I say? Dalit base, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Um, if one slaughtered a Katos cow not for his own sake, but is invalid, or if he received the
No,
blood,
no, 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 that's not it.
Dalit Aleph, you said, right?
Dalit
Dalit.
base.
Oh man, I'm really doing well. Okay. If the paraduma was burned outside the pyre in 2 pyres, or if he burned 2 cows in 1 pyre, it's invalid. If he sprinkled it in not direct towards the entrance, it is invalid. Um, I'm sorry, I need to search and I have to take this call a second, okay? Sure.
Okay, no worries.
It did not direct toward the entrance. If he sprinkled and did not direct toward the entrance, it is invalid. If he sprinkled from the sixth, the seventh, and the repeated and sprinkled the seventh, he is disqualified. For the seventh, the eighth, and he repeated and sprinkled the eighth, it is valid. If he burnt it without wood or with any wood, even with stray or stubble, it is valid. If he skinned and dismembered it, it's invalid. If he slaughtered it with the intent to eat from its meat or to drink from its blood, it is invalid. Rabbi Eliezer says intent does not invalidate the red cow. Okay. That's it. No, one more.
Good.
All that's it. Okay.
Carry on. Carry on.
All those involved in the paraduma service from beginning to end contaminate their clothing and they invalidate the paraduma by performing another task. If invalidating circumstances befell the paraduma during its slaughtering, it does not contaminate its clothing. If the invalidation occurred during its sprinkling, whoever participated in the service before its invalidation, it contaminates his clothing. And whoever participated after its invalidation does not contaminate clothing. It thus emerges that the stringency is its leniency. It's always subject to mila unless it becomes ash, and one may add wood to it, and the procedures are performed by day and by the Kohen, and another task invalidates it until it is made into ash. And performing another task disqualifies the water until the ashes are placed into it.
Hey.
Okay. Right.
Hey, Zavakim.
Okay. Dalet Hay. The consecrated offerings of non-Jews, one is not liable to them for pigul, noso, or tameh, and one who slaughters them outside the temple is not liable. These are the words of Rav Meir. And Rav Yossi declares him liable. Things for which one is not liable for pigul, one is still liable for them in nosa and for tameh, except for the blood. Rav Shimon says four things which are usually eaten, but are not for the likes of wood, frankincense, and incense, one is not liable to them for tumah. The sacrifice is slaughtered for the sake of six things: for the designation of the sacrifice, for the name of the offerer, for the name of the Hashem, for the name of the fires, for the name of the aroma, and for the sake of pleasing and the katos and asham offerings for the purpose of their sin. Said Rabbi Yossi, even if one did not have any of the purposes in mind, it is invalid for an enactment of the court because the intent is determined solely by the one who performs the service. Okay. Okay. One more. One is the proper burial for the sacrifices. The most holy offerings are slaughtered in the north. The bull and Yom Kippur, the bull and he-goat of Yom Kippur have their slaughter performed in the north, and the reception of the blood of the sacred vessel in the north. And the blood requires sprinkling between the poles and toward the curtain and the golden altar. The omission of even one of these applications prevents atonement, and the remainder of the blood he would pour on the western base of the outer altar, but if he did not apply it, it does not prevent atonement.
Hey.
And we have Subos. And Subos is Zion Gimel. If one pronounces a vow on behalf of his wife that she should not adorn herself with a certain item, he must divorce her and give her the ketubah. Rabbi Yossi says in the case of poor women, if he did not give a limit, in the case of which 30 days. If one pronounces a vow on his wife that she should not go to her father's house when he is with her in the city, 1 month he may keep her, 2 months he may divorce her and give her the ketubah. When he is in another city, 1 festival he may keep her, 3 festivals he must divorce her and give her the ketubah. If one pronounces the vow on his wife that she should not go to a house of mourning, to a house of feasting, he must divorce her and give her the ketubah, because he locks the door before her. But if he claims that it was due to some other cause, he may. If he said to her, on the condition that you tell so-and-so what you said to me, or what I said to you, or that you fill up and pour out into the garbage, he must divorce her and give her the ketubah. And that's it.
Yeah.
Good. All right.
Okay. Thank you
Have
very
a great
much.
day.
A lovely day and a happy Lag BaOmer to you tonight.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay. Have a great day. Thank you. Bye.